Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, I went over to the department yesterday for a couple of hours to review some of the unredacted materials. And I am looking forward to your detailed explanation for why you have withheld almost half of the documents, which is required by the bill. Now, obviously, there are 3 million documents, so I didn't get through much. But one thing I didn't see was the client list that you said you had on your desk a year ago. I did, however, find a couple of important documents. An 86-page prosecution memo from the Southern District of New York and a draft indictment from Florida against Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. For reasons that I cannot understand nor are permitted by the bill, they were still redacted, even for members of Congress. So, Ms. Bondi, will you commit right here to immediately providing those two documents in unredacted form to members of Congress? Not a complicated question.
Well, I guess it is for you because you have a law degree and those are privileged.
Okay, they're not privileged, but we will discuss that later. I also found an email that I have right here from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted, and it included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege, there is no attorney-client privilege, and I see you're checking with your staff, and I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Will you commit to publicly providing the unredacted version of this so that the American people can understand the extent of Donald Trump's lies about his relationship with JeffreyEpstein?
You're about as good of a lawyer today as you were when you tried to impeach President Trump in 2016. Have you apologized for that in 2019?
So will you unredact this? Will you unredact this?
You were lead counsel on that. Privileged.
I'm asking you, will you unredact this?
Privileged.
Privileged, of course. I look forward to discussing this more. Now, these are obviously improper redactions.
And let me stop for a minute.
I'm talking.
If they're not privileged,
quiet.
Don't yell at me. If they're not
Mr. Chairman, would you stop the clock? This is on your time. It's not on Mr. Goldman.
Even
though you used your improper redactions,
you'll like my answer.
To continue to protect
time belongs to the member.
We'll be happy to release them.
We'll stop the clock. We'll stop the clock. Time belongs to the member. Go ahead.
Even though you used improper redactions to protect Donald Trump and other predators associated with Jeffrey Epstein, you did the exact opposite thing with the survivors and victims of this scheme. So their identification information was really the only thing required to be redacted, and it was not. And it's clear this was not a mistake. This was not by accident. This was not because you only had 30 days when you really used 75, and that doesn't even include all the hours last March that you were redacting it. But I'll tell you why it's clear it wasn't a mistake. There is an email entitled Epstein Victim List. There are 32 names. 1 is redacted. 31 are not. So someone looked at it and decided to redact something. And I will tell you that that is clearly intentional to intimidate these survivors and victims. Now, in an interview last week...
How will you tell me that's intentional?
In an interview last week, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche...
You can't go off script.
...said that any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. Well, thanks to the incredibly brave people sitting here behind you, we can actually ask them if that's true. Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and estimate and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you, all of you, who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses
Gentleman's
to
time
talk
has expired.
to, and I yield back.
We will go to the good gentleman from North Carolina, Congressman Knott.
Thank
May
you.
I have a moment, Congressman?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Here we go. Here's the photograph. This is why he wanted to repeat everything that had been said previously on Epstein. This is his state, New York. You probably don't even know who this is. Wahid Mohammed from Afghanistan.
Yes, because I'm no longer a prosecutor.
Convicted of assault. Wow, he represents New York. Wow, yet he doesn't care about the illegal aliens convicted of crimes. Assault and homicide. No longer a prosecutor, so he doesn't care about his constituents. Here we go. Arson, El Salvador, Miguel Palacios. Fermin Flores Ramales, Mexico, rape.
Let's talk about the 70% of immigrants who are detained without a criminal conviction or arrest.
Stop the clock. Stop the clock. Time belongs to Congressman Knott.
Right. And this was supposed to be just a standard check-in on the Jeffrey Epstein files.
But it turned into something much, much more. A real heavyweight boxing match, almost.
It really did. We have Representative Dan Goldman on one side, Attorney General Pam Bondi on the other.
And our mission here is to unpack what documents the DOJ is really fighting to keep under wraps and maybe get a sense of why.
Well, the whole thing kicks off with Goldman talking about his visit to the DOJ. He went to review these unredacted materials himself.
Okay, so he goes in expecting to see this trove of evidence. What did he actually find?
Well, he starts by pointing out what he didn't find. That so-called client list. Remember Bondi claimed a year ago she had one on her desk?
I do, yeah.
Goldman says it just wasn't there. It doesn't exist. But he did find some other pretty explosive things.
Like what?
An 86-page prosecution memo from the Southern District of New York, and also a draft indictment from Florida against Epstein's co-conspirators.
Wow, and I'm guessing he wants those made public.
He absolutely does.
Yeah.
But Bondi shuts it down immediately. Cites privilege.
Okay, so privilege. I mean, the DOJ usually guards internal memos pretty fiercely, right? The deliberative process privilege.
Exactly. The idea is that prosecutors need to be able to debate freely without worrying that their rough drafts will end up on the front page. It could jeopardize cases down the line.
That makes sense in theory, but didn't Congress pass a law specifically to get these Epstein files released?
That is Goldman's entire argument, that this new law it overrides that standard protection. But then he brings up something even more specific.
Go on.
He found an email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell.
What's in it?
According to the transcript, it has notes on statements Donald Trump made about his relationship with Epstein in the past.
So Goldman wants that unredacted to see the context.
He's pushing for it, yeah. But Bondi won't budge.
But wait, if Epstein sent it to Maxwell, what privilege even applies there?
That's the friction point. Goldman says there is zero attorney-client privilege between them. They're co-conspirators, not a lawyer and her client.
So what's Bondi's counter?
She basically stops arguing the law and instead attacks Goldman's legal skills, bringing up his role in the 2019 impeachment. A total pivot.
So they're clashing over protecting political figures, but then the conversation shifts. And this part felt really heavy. It shifts to the victims.
It was the pivot point of the whole hearing. Goldman accuses the DOJ of a massive double standard.
A double standard how?
He says they're over-redacting to protect powerful men, but under-redacting information about the victims. And he cites a document literally titled Epstein Victim List.
A list of survivors.
32 names on it. And Goldman says 31 of them were left completely unredacted.
Wait, 31 names just out there for anyone to see?
That's his claim. He frames it as intentional intimidation, not just a clerical error.
That's an incredible accusation.
It is. And to prove his point, he asked the survivors who were actually in the hearing room to stand up.
He polls them live on the record.
He does. Asks them all, did you try to give testimony to the DOJ? Every single one says yes. Then he asks, were you ignored? And every single one says yes again.
Wow. That is a brutal look for the DOJ. How does Bondi even respond to that?
She doesn't. She doesn't address the Epstein files at all. She asks for a moment, reaches down, and pulls up photographs.
Photographs of what?
Not of Epstein. Of people from Goldman's district in New York.
What? Why?
She holds them up and identifies them as undocumented immigrants convicted of, assault, rape, arson.
So she's trying to flip the script.
Completely. Her argument is basically, you're here grandstanding about redactions while your own constituents are in danger. It's a total pivot from federal oversight to local crime.
It sounds like two different hearings were happening at the same time.
It really was a chaotic mix of legal oversight, raw political theater, and, this very real issue of victim advocacy.
And it leaves you with this really difficult question.
Yeah.
If the whole purpose of redaction is supposed to be protection, how do you square the privileged hiding of powerful names with the exposure of victims' names? It forces you to wonder what privilege really means in this context. Is it a legal shield or is it a political one?